The avoidant walks through life carrying a secret weight that no one sees. They appear fine, unbothered, completely moved on from what happened between you. But beneath the surface of their composed exterior lies a shame so profound they cannot speak it aloud. They know exactly how they treated you. They remember every moment of coldness, every instance of withdrawal, every time they chose their comfort over your dignity. And in the quiet hours when their defense is lower, they are consumed by shame about who they revealed themselves to be through how they treated someone who deserved so much better. They replay their worst moments in endless loops. Late at night, when distraction fades and honesty surfaces, the avoidant's mind returns compulsively to specific moments they wish they could erase. The text you sent, pouring your heart out, that they read and never answered. The time you were visibly hurt and they walked away instead of staying. The vulnerability you offered that they met with dismissiveness designed to wound. These memories haunt them because they cannot rewrite them, cannot undo them, cannot pretend they never happened. Each replay sharpens the shame as they see themselves through your eyes, recognizing how their actions must have landed, understanding the pain they caused, not theoretically, but viscerally. The avoidant is secretly tortured by these mental replays because they reveal the gap between who they want to believe they are and who they actually were when fear governed their behavior. They understand now what they could not see then. Time and distance have provided the avoidant with clarity they lacked in the moment. The rationalizations that allowed them to justify their behavior have crumbled. What they framed as setting boundaries was actually emotional cruelty. What they called self-protection was abandonment of someone who trusted them. What they convinced themselves was honest communication was unnecessarily harsh and designed to create distance. The avoidant now sees that you were not too much, too needy, too demanding. You were asking for basic emotional presence, and they punished you for needing what healthy relationships require. This delayed understanding creates shame that is almost unbearable because it means they cannot blame you, cannot frame themselves as the victim, cannot avoid the truth that they were the problem, and they knew it even then. The shame prevents them from making amends. The avoidant wants to apologize, wants to acknowledge what they did, wants to somehow make it right. But the shame itself becomes the barrier. How do you admit to someone that you treated them terribly when you were supposed to care about them? How do you confess that you chose your fear over their feelings repeatedly? How do you take accountability for damage you know you caused while maintaining any shred of dignity? The shame is so overwhelming that facing it through apology feels like complete psychological exposure. So they remain silent, carrying the shame internally, wishing they could undo what they did, while being too ashamed to even acknowledge it happened. They know an apology would not fix what they broke, and this knowledge makes the shame even heavier because it means there is no redemption available, no way to make it right, only the permanent burden of knowing they hurt you and getting to live with that knowledge forever. They compare every future person to how they failed you. The shame about how they treated you becomes the lens through which the avoidant views all future relationships. They meet someone new and immediately think about how they failed to appreciate you. They encounter patience in another person and remember how they took your patience for granted. They receive kindness and are flooded with shame about how they responded to your kindness with coldness. You have become the permanent measuring stick for their own moral failures. the person whose treatment reveals their capacity for cruelty when they are too afraid to be vulnerable. Every new connection carries your ghost, and that ghost reminds them constantly of who they were capable of being at their worst. The shame is inescapable because it is tied to their own patterns, and until they address those patterns, every relationship will trigger memories of how badly they handled yours. The secret they will likely never share. The avoidance shame about how they treated you will probably remain secret forever. They will not reach out to apologize, because doing so would require admitting the depth of their awareness about the harm they caused. They will not confess to friends, because maintaining their image matters more than being honest. They will not address it in therapy unless they are doing genuine work, which most avoid. So the shame lives inside them, a quiet, corrosive presence that surfaces in moments of honest self-reflection and then gets pushed back down because sitting with it is too painful. They are secretly ashamed of how they treated you, and that shame is both appropriate consequence for their behavior and tragic waste, because shame without action changes nothing. The avoidant will carry this burden, but they will never lighten it by taking the vulnerable step of admitting it exists, and you will likely never know that the person who seemed so unaffected by hurting you is actually haunted by it in ways they can never express.